Now I want you two to have out this discussion, and that is a tweet that Mary sent me. It says, Mary, do you want to read it? The one from Taylor Patrick O'Neill?
Oh, yes. Superman is for Protestants and Batman is for Catholics.
Discuss.
How do you feel? Do you agree?
I instantly agreed. I don't know why. I can't explain it, but the vibes are just right. I think it's really because Batman is like, he has these tortured vibes, but Superman, he's like, he has that like Protestant work ethic maybe. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, for me, I think maybe I'm coming at it too personal because I grew up Jewish and I love Superman. And for me, I always
Created by
thought,
two Jewish men, by the way.
right, the Ubermensch.
Do you think Superman is
I always thought Superman was Jewish.
Jewish?
Because, and I'm maybe just projecting into that because I also grew up on a farm in the country, and I was like, I feel like I'm Superman, right? I come from a different planet. I felt like I was from a different planet, surrounded by a bunch of people who didn't understand me. Had to hide the Jewishness because I got a lot of hate for that as a kid for whatever reason, and like our kryptonite is like, you know, your mother's guilt, I guess. So like, I don't know, but I don't know too much about Protestants. But for Batman, I always wished I could have been Batman because he, in my mind, was way cooler.
Batman is objectively cooler just because he doesn't have powers.
But in terms of
Daredevil is a more clean correlation
Daredevil
to
is,
Catholicism
like,
because the
canon
character is
Catholic,
canon,
yeah.
is very Catholic.
how is it very Catholic? I'm not familiar with Daredevil as well.
He's raised Catholic, and it's a very big part of most of the underlying stories. Is his struggle with his both his faith and his seeking to clean up the streets.
Interesting. What do you see in Superman other than what you were saying about him being Protestant?
Can you explain to me, maybe just because I said I wanted you two to have this discussion more than me because I'm not, can you explain to me like what it would be about being a Protestant that would correlate with any of these characters at all? Like, I don't know. I don't understand.
I know less about Protestants
Well,
than I do
Superman
Catholics.
is like very much an all-American character. I think that's part of it because Protestant Christianity is so deep in American history.
Oh, really?
And,
I didn't know that.
While Catholics have been here for a very long time, just as long, it's in far fewer numbers still. But like, there's just something very tortured about being Catholic, and we can see that like Batman is a more tortured figure than Superman. And also, like, someone commented that Batman is for post-Reformation Catholics. Obi-Wan Kenobi is for Gothic Catholics, which just means, like, from Christ's death until, like, 1521, I believe. I don't know. Like, it's all vibes, and I can't explain it.
I was just looking at what Protestantism is actually, how it's defined. So it's a form of Christianity originated from the 16th century Reformation, a movement against what its followers perceived to be errors in the Catholic Church. And I guess we could correlate that with Batman as like he's trying to uphold a system of law, maybe, and that's like the old guard, and Superman is like this new thing kind of working against it.
Oh, I see.
Perhaps. I'm just throwing it out there.
That's a good stab at it.
And also, he kind of has like a Vatican Batman, right? Like the Batcave is kind of like a weird little, he's a weird little pope in his little pope mobile.
Like, I think his adversaries also like kind of have like heretic vibes.
Oh, that's good.
You know?
Yeah, for sure. Like the Joker is a great one. Bane.
Yeah, like they're subverting society.
There was
I like that.
The idea of the superhero comes from the Christian ethos. The idea of a hero there to save the little ones while avoiding killing others, and many other tropes are Christian, not pagan. Those ideals are at the basis of Western morals, even in people who do not know it. I found that was really interesting. I also found this really cool article called "Superman and Jesus: Superman's Origins and Parallels to Jesus." And that just talks about how, first of all, where it came from, that he was born of two Jewish comic book writers. So it says, Let's see. Start to have it down. It says Superman's story goes something like this: From above, a heavenly father sends his only son to save the earth. When he comes down to earth, he'll be raised by two parents who originally had the names of Mary and Joseph. This is the Superman story we're talking about, Skelton says. When Superman comes of age, he travels to the Arctic wilderness to commune with his father's spirit, which mirrors Christ's journey into the desert. At the age of 30, Superman will embark on his public mission. This is the same age as Christ, he explains, and then Superman will, in his mission as ministry, fight for truth and justice, two fundamental biblical principles to base a mission on. He comes back to life after being killed in the last comic book published in 92. They're talking about the death of Superman. Then Superman comes back to Earth. This is where the storyline in 2006 Batman Returns picks up. Within the specifics of that story, I know there is no other story that mirrors it so closely than the Christ story. It says there's links to the Bible. In the original 1930s Superman comic strip created by Jerry Siegel and Joel Shuster, in the 1930s wasn't supposed to reflect the gospel story. The two Jewish teenagers simply stumbled upon the symbolic plot when they were creating an adventurous tale about an out-of-this-world superhero. Siegel and Shuster drew from biblical heroes such as Samson, who was the strongest man in the Bible, and Moses, who helped free God's people from slavery. The familiar storyline just happened to be one they used because it sounded like the most logical way to lay out the story of a great hero. What I find about that is nowadays the reason people hate the writing so much in most of these comics is because they're done with a surface level of attention paid to what the underlying moral is, meaning that it's very in your face and it's very blatant what they're trying to tell you. Whereas what I find is a lot of writers from today are pulling from far more postmodern ideals. Writing back then was pulling from great works of art, which they are looking to underlie their story, not make it the forefront of what they're telling, which leads to much greater, more meaningful art, in my personal opinion. And I think there's parallels there. So it says Superman parallels to Jesus. X-Men director Bryan Singer brought Superman back to the big screen with his movie Superman Returns. Although the correlation to Jesus' story could have easily been left out, filmmakers have kept its strong ties to the Bible. Singer, who is not a Christian, also determined not to overlook it in Superman Returns. Oh, and by the way, if you want to talk about somebody who could one day be canceled for stories about crazy stories about their life, that's Bryan Singer. May end up being there one day.
I don't know about him.
Yeah. So
looking forward to it though.
Yeah. Besides the parallels between, it says Skelton says when asked about the movie, what the movie was about, he said that Superman Returns was about what happens when messiahs come back. Besides the parallels between the two plots, strong symbolism abounds in the adventures of Superman and points directly to God. Skelton's book specifically discusses the meaning found within Superman's costume. One particular symbol that is interesting to Skelton is the triangular shield, which holds Superman's S-shaped family crest. Historically, a triangle is the symbol for the Trinity, the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. The triangle used on Superman's costume points down, signifying God's relationship with man and the gift of his only son to mankind. That could be there. The Trinity is also what they call Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman within the realm of the Justice League. So I don't know. It's like, are these types of stories going to come back? We talked on IRL last week about the reemergence of religion in a world that feels to be very unstable, where the ground beneath your feet is constantly in question because of the way society is pushing things. Are more simple, perhaps more boring, but far simpler and far less malleable storylines going to become more popular again as people look for something to hold on to?
I think whether you like it or not, humans can't help but recreate the narratives from the Bible.
Yeah.
Right? Like the story of Jesus is in literally, not everything, but it's in many things. I mean, it's in Harry Potter, right? It's like, it's all over the place. You die, you come back, there's redemption. That story is mimicked, whether they're doing it consciously or not. I think J.K. Rowling did.
That's what's interesting about me. Is like, was it like, I think those stories are so deeply ingrained in our culture and what we believe to be good storytelling that you do it without realizing you're doing
I think
it.
it's because the story of Christ, it involves us.
Yep.
And in order to grapple with it more objectively, we make stories that remove ourselves from it.
Yep.
Absolutely.
So this is kind of fascinating to me because I really do think we're in a place now where people are looking for something to hold on to, whether it be spiritually or in something that feels real to them, or more reminds them of a time when things made more sense than they seem to now in society. And that could mean that we move, Batman is still their best-selling comic by far. Batman far outstripes everything else that they sell. And as far as a story goes, he is the most bankable character in the history of comics. Him and Spider-Man, there's arguments to be made about the X-Men, about the Fantastic Four, but I would say everybody's heard of Batman. There isn't a person alive who hasn't heard, who doesn't understand, or who doesn't know that story. One of the most fascinating things about it is they keep telling the story of his parents' death in the movies, but it's something that's so part of public consciousness now that you don't need to tell that story in the movies anymore because we all know what happened to him, right? Yep. What they found out is the reason that they hired who's it plays Negan, Jeffrey Dean Morgan. The reason they had Jeffrey Dean Morgan play Thomas Wayne in Batman vs Superman is because they were going to bring him back to do a story where not the Elseworlds story, but the Flashpoint story where he becomes Batman and his mom and Batman and Bruce's mom becomes the Joker in a Flashpoint storyline. Really? So that's what they were going to do, which is why they even bothered to tell that story in that movie. But they don't need to tell that story anymore because everyone knows it, right? Yeah. So I really.
So you're saying Batman is like the Bible now?
He
it's ingrained in our DNA.
Superman too.
I think that's good.
The idea that I always find funny is like when they talk about superheroes and realistic body types. I'm like, you're not supposed to have a realistic body type if you're a superhero. You are supposed to be the peak of the human condition. Yep. You are supposed to be something to gravitate towards, to want to achieve. It's not supposed to be something that's easily done. It's supposed to be something that you could one day aspire to become, even if we know that that's not possible. And that's a beautiful thing to me, to have characters like that exist. I
think the problem with why I'm not connecting with a lot of movies lately is because, especially these type of Marvel movies, is there's like this idea of the greater good. And that phrase makes me sick.
Oh yeah, that's a big one.
And but the movies that I think all like this Batman or the early Superman ones, there is a sense of saving humanity. Yeah. But it's also about saving the individual. Yep. Which is what you get out of those old Bible stories, right? Because it's about the individual's pain and suffering, but also about this greater sense of suffering of mankind and stuff.
It's funny. I have like a soft spot for military anything in storytelling. Yeah, I found that I think it's more about the connection between the people involved. Yeah. Like I still love the idea of people that are not necessarily related being like family. Right? Yes. Because it's something that in a world where it feels like we're increasingly disconnected from one another, whether it's because of technology or various reasons, just society has had bots, dead internet. Like I love the idea of people who have, through sheer force of trials, tribulations, and struggle together, come to give that they would give their lives for one another. And that's a beautiful story to be told. But what I've found is that a lot of that, especially in American military movies, are couched under the idea of the greater good, meaning the Patriot Act, whether it's a nation building overseas. But I'm not connecting with that part of the story. I'm connecting with the individuals that make up this unit, which is what makes it such a clever piece of media.
Propaganda.
Yeah, I hesitate. Yeah, it is.
I'll say it for you.
I know it is. It is. In its own way. So it's like, but I still have that soft spot for the story.
Because they can manipulate us with the individual story, right?
Exactly.
You see the guy suffering at home, he's got to feed his kids, and he's got to do this thing, become part of the war machine, and you start sympathizing for it. Yeah. And there's it's good and bad to everything. But with these characters in particular, they're operating from a very strong moral center, which is why you can think of like the Catholicism, the Judaism, all that stuff, because for the most part, you don't have to, but I think for the most part, people, even if you are an atheist, you've received a moral center from some type of teaching that came out of the Bible.
Likely in your upbringing,
just your surroundings, because like you're saying with like the Batman's parents' stories so well. Yeah. You also know the stories and the parables like by osmosis at this point.
Martha.
Right.
So
just clip that.
Yeah, we'll take
do a little louder.
So I think that I don't know, because I don't know what makes up a Protestant, and necessarily what that I found that a very fascinating thing to discuss.
The Protestants I don't know as well. Yeah. Like I wish I knew more about Protestants, but my dad was Catholic, is Catholic, so like I grew up in this weird household of having both. So I understand both fairly well, but the Protestants are a wholly different world to me.
Who would you rather be, Mary? Batman or Superman?
Batman, obviously, because he's emo.
She's wearing all black like every day. That makes perfect
See,
sense.
I would be Superman, but make him emo.
You
Like,
can't make Superman
if
emo.
I were Superman, we'd be goth.
That
Come on, you can do that.
super goth.
Super goth.
Super goth.
I would be Batman too, though.
Yeah,
Batman's way
obviously.
cool. But I like the idea of like flying, like for real.
Fine,
like,
then
just on
I'm
my
gonna
own.
be. Then I'm gonna be Superman just to be a contrarian. So
Loser.
I know, right?
Dweeb. No, I'm just
Boo.
kidding. I like the idea like of being able to fly, being actually invincible, and not having to like make things.
Truth, justice,
do
and the
that.
American way. All
That's
day.
it. That's it.
Thanks for watching this clip, guys. If you want to see full episodes or follow us on social media, links are in the description below. Bye.
Bye.